G'day, Nick here from Metal Engineering. So today's mission is to get these seats. So see them there, the couple of Sparco seats I sort of showed you in the last video where I was painting the headers. So I've got them in the car. So basically I've got them sitting where I want, roughly. They do need to come up a little bit so they're not on the base plates that mount to the actual car themselves. So basically I'll just go through, get a few measurements, and then we'll move to the computer and we'll start drawing something up. So this seat here in particular was very close to getting in the car. I thought I was going to have to take the actual sidebar here out, and I was actually a bit concerned that it wasn't going to fit in there with that anyway. It's just one of those generic sort of bolt-in cages that are, I guess, designed to put in road cars with full interior trim and that, so there's a fair gap between them and the door trim and everything like that. So it's pretty close in there, but they do fit. They sort of rub a little bit, but so long as I can make the actual the adapter plates up nice and strong, they shouldn't move and rub, which should be nice. So yeah, we'll move on to that. We'll just take a few measurements and see if we can get these bolted up. But yeah, now we've got those measurements, we'll move over to the computer and we'll start drawing them up. Alright, so I had a bit of a look online, and brackets you can actually buy for these seats. The ones in Australia are reasonably expensive. They're about $300-400 per seat. So that's sort of why I decided just to make my own. I've got the old CNC plasma there, so it's pretty easy just to knock something up on that rather than paying a few $100. Well, probably $600 for the pair of seats, really, just to mount the things. So basically what I've sort of found is sort of 3mm plate or 1/8 inch plate is sufficient for mounting these. So that's what I've got on the table already from another project there. So I've got a bit of space left on that sheet that I should be able to get 4 brackets out of. And just had a bit of a look on the actual Sparco website. And yeah, they seem pretty simple. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it. So pretty much before I start doing any drawing on the computer, I always start with a little bit of a rough sketch, just sort of what I'm after. So been through the measurements on the side of the seat, the vertical that mounts, and I've sort of come up with that there. So bit of a scribble, but it all kind of makes sense. So basically I've got 2 different settings on the vertical for distance front and rear, and I've got the sort of slots there. So if I'm moving up a hole at the back, as it arcs around at the front, it'll go through that slot, and same if it's lower at the front and higher at the back. It's got room for those bolts to arc in those slots there. So basically I'll go through and I'll draw that up on the computer, and then sort of make it look a bit pretty and draw like a flange, the actual flange, once I've got the holes in that plotted out. Alright, so there you go, I've been at it for about 3 minutes, and as you can see I've got the grid pattern there for the holes and the slots already plotted out. I'll go through and I'll punch all them in, and then I'll start doing up a bit of a profile of the side flange. So now what I'm doing here is I've just got made up this line you can see moving around. That's 290mm, so that's the distance between the 2 bolt centers on the side of the seats. So I've got you see here, I've got the holes in the slots marked out. So what I'm doing now is just going to put this line on the top hole on one side, and then arc it down through those slots, just to make sure that the slots are like long enough, basically, so that as it arcs through, if I have it on the highest one at the back, it's going to be able to bolt into the bottom one at the front, just to try and verify that the slot's long enough. I'm not going to make it and then want to angle the seat forward or backwards and not actually be able to bolt it in. So we'll just sort of lock it into place on one of the holes and then rotate it around. So as you can see there, as I rotate it around, see that white line? You see the white line there is well and truly within the slot. So that's good. Just doing that verifies and makes sure that the way I've designed up the slots and the holes basically is going to work. So that gives me a bit of adjustability on the vertical flange to move the seat forwards and backs and actually angle it as well. Just get into a comfortable position. The return flange that goes 90 and bolts onto the adapter plate in the car will also have a bit of adjustability front and rear, but it won't have the angle. So pretty much most of the front and rear will be from the base, the return flange going underneath the bottom, and these ones are basically just to give it a bit of an angle, just so it's more comfortable if you find leaning forward or back in the car. And yeah, so that's sort of looking pretty good. So now I'll just design up the outer perimeter of that flange, and then we'll just copy and paste that 4 times. That'll do essentially for that part, and then we'll just do the bits going back. I've been through on the computer here and I've designed up the design for the 4 flanges that are going to come up vertically. I've got it sort of there, so you can see that very well. So yeah, just before I move on any further, I'm just going to do a quick test cut, make sure that design actually works, and if not, we'll go through and do a bit of refining to it and change it if need be. Right, so this is exactly why I always try and do a little bit of a test cut first, just to try and improve the design before going into full blown finishing it and wasting a whole shit ton of plate. So what I've done here is when I measured it in the car, I had my measurement from the mounting plate of the car to the mounting plate of the seat at 70 mil. Now, for some reason in my brain, I wanted it 30 mil higher than that. So I've only come up 30 mil from the bottom of this flange instead of what should be 100. So if I had just gone and cut out all 4, that would have just been an absolute shit show. Other issue I have is where the seat belt comes through. So I've got the adjustment for 4 different heights here. Now, if I was to be on the bottom one, which would be my, say, 70 mil up, I would be up here like that. Now you can see that's covering the hole where the seat belt's harness is going to have to come through. So that obviously cannot be like that. So that is going to need a bit of redesign. Right, so this angle here is just under 45 degrees. So I think what I'm going to do is swap the slot from this side of the hole to the other, and we'll do the same on this side. So the holes will be here and the slots will be on the other side. We'll switch them around, move this Animal Engineering over and down a bit, maybe shrink it. Then we should be able to do this, have it come down on a 45, cut back out, so when it's up on its highest or its lowest level, there will still be room for the seatbelt to come through. So. Alright, so that just finished cutting out. We'll take it over the seat and we'll see how well she pans out. As that is at the moment, I think that's a goer. So we'll sign off on that design. I might change this just a little bit here, have it coming up a little bit shallower. But yeah, generally as a thing, that's pretty good, I think. I think aesthetically I might just add another hole and slot here. Probably not, will never get used, but I think it just evens it up a little bit having an extra one over here as opposed to just on the other side there. So yeah, that's the Circuit 2 bracket. Now the Evo one is slightly different. The bolt orientations and everything are a bit different, and the shape of the front of the seat's a bit different. So I should be able to use this as a pretty good template to just quickly modify and make one for the other seat there. You see, if you really see that, but the bolt holes are there and they're a bit lower at the front, and also you see this comes in a lot tighter, but obviously that one is a lot higher, so they are different. But yeah, I think we're on the right track here. Looks alright. Yeah, we'll run with that one, do a quick little modification on the other one, and then yeah, we'll get to cutting the final ones out. Alright, so I've been back at the computer doing a bit of a redesign, and this is what I've ended up with. So those are my side plates, and let's go over to the bender there and put a 90-degree bend, and then we should be good to go to give it a bit of a go in the car. There you go, it's all made up. I reckon they look pretty good. So we'll give them a bit of a test fit in the car, and then I'll probably get them powder coated, I think, just to make them last a bit longer. Alright, well there you go, that's driver's seat done. Obviously I've got a fair bit of adjustment. I can move it forwards and backwards. I can lean it back and forwards if I want. Where it is here is actually a pretty good spot. We can change gears, I can get the clutch. Little handbrakes right here. Yeah, it's pretty good. We could do basically the exact same thing for the passenger seat. As I sort of said before, the mounting is slightly different on that one. The bolt holes and orientation is a bit different, but essentially it's the exact same thing. It'll be the same bracket, just sort of offset a little bit, and the cutout for the harness belt will be in a slightly different spot. But we'll do some skids pretty soon. I'll just sit here and pretend. Graceful as fuck. Righto, it's another day. I've been at the computer, designed up the brackets to go on the old Evo L there. Slightly different than the ones on the circuit. Just obviously you've seen in the other videos, a bit different at the front, and this one doesn't taper out at the front like the circuit does. So this is what I've come up with there. You can sort of see the difference. That's the circuit one here and the Evo. So this is a bit different here. Just sort of accommodates for that taper at the front. And yeah, I ended up I cut out another one of these ones for the circuit, because if you see over here, I sort of stuffed up. It doesn't really matter because you can't see it, but you see on this side the writing is the right way. I forgot to mirror the writing when I cut out the other side, so it's actually, even though you can't see it, it's by the tunnel, you'll never see it once it's in. It's just kind of irritating knowing that the writing's not the right way around. So when it's out of the car, you can see it. Looks pretty shitty. So I cut another one of them out just so it's not going to irritate me knowing it's in there backwards. But yeah, they look pretty good. They all line up nicely with the mounts inside the car there. So yeah, we'll fold up these other ones and chuck them on the seat. So I had a bit of a day off this yesterday. I got the old got this boat back in. I done the canopy on this just before Christmas. So yeah, full custom canopy. Yeah, it's just coming for a couple little minor changes, couple little tweaks. I didn't have these front supports. Didn't have them there, and they had a bit of a weeble wobble, which didn't seem too bad, but yeah, it's got a pretty hefty solar panel up on the top there now, and that added weight, it just bounces around. So yeah, put those supports in there, just fix that up. But yeah, it came up pretty good. Oh, mate's got a shit ton of lights on there. The old fish about to go to a nightclub. But anyway, we'll fold these up, chuck them on the seat, and get them in the car. And they look pretty trick. Do the job. Yeah, 3mm plates, nice and solid. So yeah, we'll chuck that in the car, see how it looks, and then should be ready to send off to get powder coated. All right, well that fits in there nice and good. Lines up all nice with the bracket that's already in the car. So I actually don't have any hardware at the moment to bolt them in properly, but we've got to get sent off for powder coat and that anyway. We're still in lockdown here in Perth until 6 o'clock tonight, so can't sort of go and get any bolts anyway. Yeah, they come up right. I reckon they look pretty good, nice and solid too. So do the job. Get them powder coated red. That'll do it for this one. Obviously, yeah, you can't really go too much further forward without the bolts, and got to get powder coated. So there they are. So yeah. So yeah, 2 different seats, 2 different brackets, both do the job. Anyway, cheers for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe.